Good morning, good morning from St Moritz. You're listening to a very special edition of Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé. We are coming to you from the very heart of this very lovely Dorf. My guest today, quite a lineup. We've got Vanessa Leuenberger. She's the founder of Mesa Yoga Studio. She'll be giving us a bit of a wellness check-in. Also, we're going to be talking all things cinema a little bit later because, of course, the St Moritz Art Film Festival is coming up. We'll be talking to Dr Diana Segantini and also we'll be talking to Luca Pollerhoff. And that will be really looking at sort of the power of community and sport, and also Filip Zuan will be talking about capturing film and alpine life. I've also got my colleagues here as well. Listen, gang, we've been broadcasting for a couple of days. Georgina, what's caught your eye up here?
Just the beauty, the sheer natural beauty of it. Rain, shine, it doesn't matter.
Nick, Monisse?
Can I say nightclubs? Are we allowed to talk about that?
We could talk about nightlife as well. It hasn't been sort of a key theme. Sophie Grove?
The swimming's been amazing. We had a dip last night after I did a 3-hour foraging expedition. I felt completely immersed. It's been really amazing.
Excellent. Well, lots to get across over the next 55 minutes. Stay tuned. All that and much more coming up on Monocle on Sunday, live from sunny, sort of rainy St Moritz.
Live from St Moritz, this is Monocle on Sunday with Tyler Brûlé.
And good morning from, a rather damp St Moritz this morning, but I have to say it's very sort of, gemütlich, very nice inside. We've got a gathering of guests here. This is the Makers and Shakers weekend. It is the full day 2. This kicked off on Friday evening. And this is really, Georgina, there was a little bit of a plan has sort of been laid down in terms of course, what Mariana, who is the CEO, wants to really deliver up here. And we know it's sort of a crowded space, but maybe you want to make an appeal because we were having a lovely dinner last night. And you said, Makers and Shakers, great, but what would you like to see happen up in St Moritz?
I would like St Moritz to have its own literary festival. I think it would be absolutely fantastic to gather some people here, maybe towards the end of the season when it's not so crowded, and just talk about books. You could do it around a lovely cozy fireside, or you could do it as you hike up a mountain. There are so many ways in which you could arrange this, but authors would want to come, and I know they'd have a captive audience in this very literary and intellectual outpost of Switzerland.
But Georgina, we did the Monocle Weekender here, that's going back almost 2 years now, and that was a little bit of a taster of things to come. What do you think it is about being in the alpine region that lends itself to maybe delivering a superior type of book festival?
Do you know, I think there are several elements. One is that it's a very, very storied region. This place comes with all of its own narrative, if you like. And so many other narratives have been built off the back of it. So there are so many books and movies and so on with this kind of setting. But also, the mountains enclosing you makes it feel intimate. Everybody's drawn in. And I think if you go back to the very ancient roots of humanity, that's what we want. We want to be drawn in around the fire and told a comforting story.
Yeah, and fire is very important for all of this, isn't it?
Absolutely. Particularly when it comes to lighting my fires, but we won't go there.
We won't talk about that. Nick, of course, we arrived up here on Friday morning. You had a bit of a spin around. It's really your second trip. This has been your longest stint up here so far. So maybe we won't talk about nightclubs until the end of the program. We'll stay in the daylight. We'll stay in the lakes. But you're looking after design and architecture as your patch. What has struck you up here? Any building engineering sightings that are outstanding?
Fire is maybe the nice thing to continue here. We've spent a lot of time in the lake wandering around, the town. But one of the things that jumped out at me, and you pointed it out on the first day, was the fact that there are these little kind of huts with pre-cut firewood for people to essentially build their own campfires, their own barbecues. And what I love about that is it's a small kind of urban intervention, a moment of urban acupuncture to sort of give people a place to engage with the landscape, with the season. We went to the lake, people were out there having a good time, having a barbecue, using this pre-cut wood. And it's those sort of little moments that I actually find quite impressive. Sure, there's amazing architecture here. We talked about Sgraffito, this act of, carving into a stone facade of a building, and that is magnificent, but it's those little moments and the little lake huts that run along the lake here, those sort of moments for people to engage with the landscape that surrounds them is really, really incredible.
And as also you said, it's really an aspect of wonder, because Sophie, we were looking at this, and it's part of it is urban intervention, part of it is just superior planning. Where else in the world other than Switzerland would you actually have pre-cut wood? It's already covered in its own little box, and there's another little box if you want to make a donation as well to the wardens who are responsible for doing this.
I know, there's that kind of mountain etiquette is very interesting. You can see, even just the way you kind of pass someone on the path and you greet them good morning, there's a kind of elegance and a kind of community as soon as you enter one of those lakeside paths. When we were right up in the hills, you really felt that yesterday. And I just love that sense of kind of those vignettes that you have. You know, you just look around in St Moritz and it is all framed. The landscape just envelops you. And you just have these little moments up in Lake de Chaz yesterday. I just kind of, that was my kind of literary moment in a sense. It felt like the opening of a very good novella.
Well, Sophie, just before we go, you had a bit of a foraging moment as well. You committed to at least 3 hours of blueberry picking, and there was a bit of a foreshadowing for that yesterday. How did the blueberry picking go? And there was jam making, I believe, but I'm not sure if you ducked out of that.
This is the jam. I mean, and actually people are eating it now. So it was amazing. You know, the blueberries are kind of really quite tiny. You think of blueberries, these are little kind of, they're hidden in the bushes. You're down, you know, you're having to really work for them. I mean, it was slow food, like, let me put it that way. But it's also so meditative, and I think it's another way of engaging with the landscape, because you're really looking, you're like in a childlike state, really. You're looking at the ants, all the little kind of beauty of each leaf, because you're really up close, and there is that sense of kind of really tranquility when you're picking. You feel like you're kind of relating back to your hunter-gatherer instinct.
And but you didn't make it to the kitchen, though, for the actual assembly, did you? Because I think the lake was calling you again.
Unfortunately not. And then the jam has been delivered to me here, so I'm not quite sure that I'm going to get any marks for that. But I do make a lot of jam back in the UK, so I didn't need to learn. But I'm going to take this home and really treasure it.
Very good. Sophie, Nick, Georgina, will catch you at the very, very end of the show. It's just gone 10:11 here in St Moritz, Central European time. You're listening to a very special edition of Monocle on Sunday, coming from, I would say, just a little bit under 2,000 meters in this wonderful village. And this is, of course, the Makers and Shakers weekend, and we're going to be talking to a few of them. And I'm very happy to say that Vanessa Leuenberger has just joined me around the microphones right now. She's the founder of Mesa Yoga Studio up here. Vanessa, good morning. Very nice to see you.
Good morning, Tyler. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Tell me, the yoga studio space is a rather crowded one all over the world. But of course, when we're up here, I'm wondering, and maybe just tell us a little bit about what makes Mesa different maybe than your competitors potentially.
Well, when I was thinking about Mesa and having it in my mind, I was actually looking towards the scenery right out of my window. And in the autumn, the colors are just spectacular. The summer is beautiful, but the autumn has this just added beauty to it. And so the lake is this beautiful green, and I thought, how wonderful would it be to practice in a living room that had all the colors from nature inside. And so I found a place, and then I just made it happen. I created that space along with a lot of very professional people, and we're bringing the outside in, that serenity of the outside into the studio so that people could practice and have that be part of the feeling of it, actually.
And it's interesting because, you know, we'll in the coming weeks we'll start to see the leaves change. You know, autumn will arrive very quickly, much faster than it does in the lowlands. What is it? Because it's about the autumn season as well that you think is so appealing. Is it sort of the pace of it? Is it sort of this deep serenity, the cooler mornings? But what is the appeal?
Well, it is. I mean, summer, and also Ayurvedically, you know, summer is a very busy time, lots of energy, lots of, you know, just active things. But the autumn is a preparation. It's a transitional time, and it gives us a time to reflect on what has happened, and it gives us a time to prepare of what is coming. So it's a transitional time that gives us a lot of space to reflect and act a little bit more gently.
Tell us about your customer base. Of course, there's a year-round community. Of course, there's a summer community up here. There's definitely a winter one, and there is also this move. And I think maybe that's part of what Makers and Shakers is about as well. That this is also a place that is 12 months a year. Of course, we just see the appeal of also being up in this region. Tell me a little bit about the audience that you're talking to and looking to appeal to.
It's like 4 different audiences.
Very distinct.
Yes. So the summer, we just opened actually at the end of last year. So we've had the winter audience, which is very active, but if it's sunny, it's quiet because everyone's in the mountains. But we have people that are here year-round that come to visit us. We have people that have homes that come visit us. We have people that are from St Moritz, and we have people that have adopted St Moritz as their home. It just varies, and during the in-between seasons you have more of the locals, and during the summer and the winter you have lots of tourists.
So listen, you have a lot of people, as you said, who they might be living in Milan, they might be living in London, elsewhere. They have this very, very deeply urban life. There is something, of course, of the urban about St Moritz as well. It's not just any village, but is there a certain discipline coaching that has to come with this? Because of course you come down from 2,000 or almost 2,000 meters to wherever your city might be. How much is there a bit of aftercare when you're talking to your customers who are also, who are traveling back and forth?
Yeah, it's a lot about staying gentle. You know, we are so busy and hectic through our lives. Even when we are here, the people are here have such busy schedules, dinner, mountains, every moment of their day is packed with things. So we try to give them a pause and let them really relish in that space of paying attention, looking inwards, and hopefully we try to charge their batteries that way so that they can, when they go home, they remember that and they incorporate that into their daily routines. But it's hard. It's hard to pause. It's actually one of the hardest things that we can do. Shavasana, for example, the last pose, often is the hardest pose of the entire practice because it forces you to do nothing.
So here's the theme, which of course many people who are assembled here this morning, there's this ongoing discussion about the pull and the draw to come up to the mountains, to come to somewhere like St Moritz, to set up your business, to find a job, but then also to stay as well. And because of the seasonality, that it's fine to have a job for 4 months, and then you have to you leave for 2 months, and it's great if you've made enough money that you can travel or do something else. Then you come back for the winter season. How important is it, from just really speaking about business, not talking about the business of yoga, that we actually move and transition a place like St Moritz and also many of its peer villages as well, to having a 12-month-a-year metabolism?
Well, our year is really beautiful, except for the spring, which we don't have. Yeah. But there's nature, there is business, there's everything you might need is here. Of course, we don't have big shopping malls and things like that, but do we really need that for the entire year? We don't. So what would I say? It's like, just stay and see.
Yeah, and then maybe collectively people can figure out what happens with that kind of mucky sort of spring period. Is summer ever going to arrive or not? Just tell me, obviously early days for the business, but so far so happy?
Yeah, so far so happy. I've had a great time sharing yoga with all of the students and meeting new people, and hopefully inspiring some to pause a bit more and move the body a bit more as well.
And just, I want to go back to talent attraction. How big of a team have you built up?
We
here?
have 3 total. Yeah, it is a small village after all.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very good seeing you from Mesa Yoga here in St Moritz. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Monocle on Sunday. Just gone 18 minutes past the hour, almost 19 minutes past the hour here in St Moritz. We're going to go away for a very short break. When we come back, we'll be talking all things film related. Stay with us. And you are back with us. A very short break right there. And I'm very happy to say that Dr. Diana Segantini is with us. I only saw you 2 weeks ago, and you're the managing director of the St Moritz Art Film Festival. This is a new date in the calendar. Good morning, by the way. Very nice to see you.
Good morning.
Tell us again, we move into this autumn season. It is very busy with film festivals. There's been this summer pause, but of course we move into it. Of course, Locarno has also been happening as well at the moment. What is St Moritz going to be delivering that is different from, of course, what is available elsewhere in Europe and around the world?
Yeah, I think it's just a very special festival. It's all about arts, nature, really embedded in the valley. But it's really outgoing. It's reaching out to the world, and that's the spirit of the Engadine. I grew up here in a small village, 10 minutes from here. So when you grow up here and when you do things here, it's very important to really be well rooted in the actual surrounding, but also radiate nationally and internationally. So we want to be in the calendar of the international festivals.
So what does this mean from a criteria point of view? Because you've set up a few parameters in terms of the topography, aesthetics, but what does it mean as you've been building up your lineup?
So it's an art film festival. So it's all about art house films. It's about films about artists, from artists, directors who are linked to the art world. So it's all about curating a wonderful theme. Like this year's theme, it's Meanwhile Histories. So it's all about parallel temporalities, storytelling, biographies, and other fascinating timeline stories. So it's well curated, and it's really to show the richness of what art and film can actually bring to people. So at the same time, yes, with the art films or art house films, you think it's quite a niche thing, but in the programming for us it's also very important to stay very high in the quality, have great artists, directors coming to St Moritz, but also to be very accessible also to the local audience.
So let's go back to the notion of curation. Who is on the committee? Who is pulling all of this together? And you said it's international. You want to be on that calendar. And is it reflective? Because there is something also very, very powerful. There's an amazing community up here, but also how much do you want to draw on the global versus also this, quite extraordinary and I would say very specific regional expertise as well.
Yes, of course. So actually the founder and initiator of this festival is Stefano Ravolli Pansera, who used to be the director at Hausenwert here in St Moritz. He's currently working on a Kunsthalle and other amazing projects in Thailand. So we're doing this together. But he's the founder, the ideator, to really, actually bring wonderful themes. The first theme was face-to-face. So, it was all about, really connecting people. Last year, it was actually the first time where I have had a real cinema at Cinema Scala. So it's our new home, and it's great to have a cinema back in St Moritz. So we're very grateful for that. And so last year it was Becoming Landscape. So obviously it was very much linked to the landscape of the Engadine, to the themes of the local artists, from Not Vital to Segantini to Giacometti. So yes, it's this very great balance about showing relevant films that just came out that are new. So this year we're showing 40 films and 12 are world premiere actually. And so it's really this balance about being deeply rooted here, but really attract global players in the arts and film world.
So let's just reflect a little bit on your background, where you've come, obviously, a wealth of experience in other cultural settings, other cultural platforms. What do you want to deliver here? So, okay, you've set out, of course, the parameters of what this needs to be, but what else has to happen in a contemporary film festival today? How much has to happen off screen? How much has to happen late into the evening? And also in terms of drawing an audience and making sure that they're going to come back. And I mean, obviously, part of this exercise, as you've said, it's about also being globally relevant, that this doesn't just echo in the valley.
No, absolutely. So, we work all year round. We're a very small team with Stefano and the production manager. But I just, got back from Locarno Film Festival last night, actually. And so it's very, very important to connect to the industries, to the other film festivals. I'm very much about, collaborating and exchanging ideas of, how we can complete each other, learn from each other. So it's very, very important to really be connected. And we are in this calendar of, Locarno, now Venice is coming up at the end of the month. And we're sort of trying to prolong the season here in St Moritz as well. So it's going to be from 12th to the 15th of September. It's quite a bet. But for me personally, the golden season, as I call the autumn, is really great time to attract more people to St Moritz.
So 3 days, 40 films, and almost a third of them, of course, are global premieres. Just up the hill from us, we have a cinema back as well, which is incredible. This is the focal point. Everything will be there, or will you also be using hotel ballrooms and other things, because that is quite a packed schedule?
Absolutely. So we're very fortunate to actually have the cinema, that takes about 107 people. But now we have the James Turrell room. I don't know if you've seen it. It's wonderful. So we do, some of the conversation program or some small screenings there. So it's great to have this venue. And I think, we're thinking about, if we really have a lot of, audience to actually have a second screening, maybe down at the Reine Victoria and everything. So this year we were able to actually stay concentrated at Cinema Scala, but this will for sure be a reflection for next year as well. If we're constantly growing, so we're still a baby festival, but it's very, very important that we come up with new ideas. So it's not only those 4 days in September, we do have events all year round, because it's very important to be in people's minds and hearts also during the year. So as I said, I'm a friend of collaboration. So last year we collaborated with Engadin Art Talks in Suarez. We collaborated with Nomad. We did on tour SMAF in Zurich with the film of Ghirri. So it's all about connecting to different audiences in St Moritz, but also outside of the valley. So I'm not excluding other venues as well here in St Moritz.
So we're less than a month out, of course, from all of this getting underway. Who are you expecting in terms of audience? Is this sort of a Milano, Munich, Zurich crowd? How? And of course, you will have, of course, directors, actors, and of course people within that ecosystem here as well. But in terms of, let's say, hardcore cinemaphiles who want to be sitting in the third row, who are you targeting in terms of that audience?
So luckily, in our small team, we're very well connected. So also our president, Martin Hotteboer, who's the president of the Kunsthalle in Basel and internationally known, and also Stefano Raboli Pansera and myself are very well connected. So we really try to get a crowd that is, very very multifaceted. So it's not only the Milano crowd or Zurich crowd or Munich, of course they are, but it's like last year was an amazing mix of institutions, curators, directors from all over Switzerland. There amazing collectors coming from Switzerland and abroad. There are many locals who are interested in cultural topics. There were some, who were sort of, just coming to be a bit curious. So it's a very, multifaceted audience that we're targeting, and they are responding. We just sent out the invites, so the RSVPs are flocking in.
They're coming in. And do people behave, because of course you have considerable experience and history in this valley and these valleys up here, and you mentioned, of course, a level of cooperation with, of course, with other institutions, but also this is Switzerland. It's a federalist system, and we know that cantons and Gemeinde can be at each other's necks, even in this vicinity as well. pulling everyone together. Is there a collective sense, Diana, of actually let's make this valley, this town stronger by doing things together, as opposed to as we know what happens up here sometimes.
Absolutely, that's my own history as well, coming from an Uppers family and curating shows and doing cultural events. I think the mindset has really changed, so I'm very, very happy about that. It was my personal mission as well, not only for this festival, but in general, to work together in culture, to really have the audiences and the visitors at the core of the interest. So it's also my personal mission to be a mediator, to really build bridges.
Diana the diplomat.
Exactly. So that's how I grew up, and that's what I'm doing, constantly. And I'm very, very happy that I really see that there's a new energy in the valley as well, and especially with the support of the canton and especially St Moritz tourism. This new energy coming in. It's really all about doing things together. Be courageous and do new things. I think it's very, very important that this valley that could actually lay back and say we've got nature, we've got culture and wonderful things. I think it's very important to also be courageous enough and innovative in the formats of making cultural events. And we've got an amazing support, especially from St Moritz, but from all other local players like the hotels and banks. So it's very, very important to have that backing.
Dr. Diana Segantini, Managing Director of the St Moritz Art Film Festival, thank you very, very much. It's just gone 10:30 and 30 seconds. Time to head back to London. Emma Nelson is there with the news headlines.
Thank you very much indeed, Tyler. Around 18 Syrians have been killed by an Israeli airstrike on a city in southern Lebanon. The Israeli military say the airstrike on the city of Nabatea targeted a weapons depot used by Hezbollah. Opponents of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro have taken to the streets to demand recognition of what they say is the opposition's victory in last month's presidential elections. Campaigners claim Edmundo Gonzalez won more than 65% of the vote, but the incumbent Nicolas Maduro insisted he won. Greece is to partially lift a ban on transporting sheep and goats after goat plague was detected in the country. Goat plague, otherwise known as peste des petits ruminants, does not infect humans but is highly contagious and can kill up to 70% of those animals infected. And a competition has been launched to help the Swiss military recover thousands of tons of munitions dumped in some of the country's most beautiful lakes. In Lake Lucerne alone, there are an estimated 3,500 tons of munition and 4,500 tons in the waters of Neuchâtel, which the Swiss Air Force used for bombing practice until 2021. Now, the Swiss Defence Department is offering 50,000 francs in prize money for the best idea to get it out. And those are the headlines. Back to you, Tyler, in St Moritz.
Emma, I know it's going to be keeping your family busy this afternoon. I can imagine you're going to be employing your son to think about what he can do for the Swiss forces in terms of getting all of those munitions out of the lakes.
Well, we don't want to have any makers, and we certainly don't want to have any shakers going into anywhere near the lakes. I mean, I was wondering if we could actually deploy Sophie Grove, having so meticulously retrieved 3 hours worth of blueberries from the leaves and the greenery of Switzerland. Maybe you could check in the Lake of St Moritz and nip down and see if there's anything lurking there.
Well, I was actually wondering if there are any munitions in the bottom of Lake St Moritz, but maybe we can. That could be a discussion a little bit later, because we're going to be checking in with the CEO in about 13 minutes time. Emma, stick around for our next guest, because I know you could have a question or two, because you love the Alps, you love being in the mountains, yes. You love St Moritz, yes. But I'm really happy to say that Luca Pollerhoff is here. He's the founder of the sports community MAUN.TEN, and that's MAUN.TEN listeners, MAUN.TEN, MAUN.TEN. Luca, very good to see you. Good morning. Nice to, maybe just set it up for us. Tell us, there's again lots happening out in the world of bringing community together, getting people active and engaged. What is MAUN.TEN doing?
Yeah, thanks for having us. MAUN.TEN is like a community, and we want to bring the people together, because all over the world we see that people make sports together. Yes, and I also want to do this here, because I want to make sport with new people and I want to know new people. Yeah, and that's what we do, and we see it in all big cities, and why not in St Moritz? Because it's really nice.
Well, listen, we can, and Emma can reflect on this. We have various running clubs around our headquarters in London, and people are, of course, working with personal trainers in parks, etc. But when you're up in the mountains, there are so many pursuits. So I'm wondering, what is your core focus? Because it could kind of be endless when you think about bringing people together.
Yeah, for sure. We are really concentrating on endurance sport. So that's what we do and we love to do. Yeah, you can also hike and do lots of other stuff, but we do endurance sport, and for us, that's road cycling and running in the beginning, for sure.
Okay, Emma, appealing to you back in London, tell us, road cycling and then going for a very, very, very long trot, and with probably the odd incline. Tell me.
I mean, how long a trot are we talking? I love a very good morning to everybody over in St Moritz. Good morning, Luca. I'm really interested on how you create those paths where you're going for a trot up a mountain, and suddenly there's a fitness station. And there's a little bit of metal sticking out of it, and then you have to learn how to operate it. I mean, are those still a really, really popular thing? Because it's one of those things that you always, you go past, you promise you'll have a go, you have a really bad go at it, you're not quite sure you're doing it right. I wonder how much scope there is to make those a little bit more sort of integrated into life.
Yeah, when you see the parkour, when you go through the forest here, etc., is that part of the endurance world, or is it just saying we're going to go for 20 kilometers and that's it? No stopping, no push-ups, no.
It's about everything else. It's not only about the sport, it's about everything else, the lifestyle we live. And drink a coffee and see the nature and all of this. It's not about only the sport. It's about the other things, I would say.
Okay, Emma, that's music to your ears. Being able to pause, have a good flat white. It's just how you like to do your sport, isn't it?
Oh, well, absolutely. And while we're there, why not bring a roast chicken and have a decent picnic of it?
Listen, why up here? What was the point of actually choosing the Engadine? Because you could look many places, some even more populated than being up in St Moritz. What is the Engadine? What does the region give you in terms of nature, but also the audience that you need as well?
Yeah, I love the nature here, and it's like a unique place. I never have seen like a place like this. I was like in Mallorca, it's also very famous for cycling, or in big cities like Berlin or London you also can run. But here it's quite nice because you have like this nature, the lake, and you have like also the seasons. So you have summer, and in the winter you can make cross-country skiing, and that's what I love about St Moritz. And the people are, I think, here lots of people who are really open, and that's also really nice for us.
So let's talk about the nature of community. Who are the people who are signing up? Who's joining you? Is it all walks of life? Or, if it was Emma who might be holidaying up here potentially, how much does she have to be in her sort of lycra one piece and really look super hardcore?
There are people of all levels. And we are open for all people of all levels, because we have lots of pros here and they make like their own stuff, but that's not us, because we want to do sports together, and that's not about being fast or being the best. It's about making sport together, and that's what we do.
Emma, I think a lot of our listeners are wondering, do you have a lycra one piece?
So am I. Not the last time I checked, but I may be heading to Switzerland in the next couple of weeks. I can probably head down to the shop to see if they see
the sport rack. The sport racks are full of bibs. You can go full length. You can go above the knee, whatever you like.
Oh God, I think that ship sailed, Tyler. I'll keep it. Let's say well aerated, and we'll do that. I have a little question for Luca about how you encourage the next generation. You're talking about community, but everybody will know just the struggle that younger people have in actually extracting their faces from their phones and their screens and actually getting out and enjoying what's in front of them. How much do you encourage, or how willing are people nowadays to actually emerge from their tiny bedrooms and then actually head up a mountain and experience the obviously palpable benefits that you can get?
I think there are more and more people who want to go out, and I want to encourage the people by social media, because they are on social media for sure. But I also here right now to make coffee, and that's also a place where we want to meet the people who are maybe interested to join us. So we also do it with coffee, because coffee is always good.
which is a perfect combination. Luca Pollerhoff from MAUN.TEN, that's MAUN.TEN. Very good seeing you. Thank you very much. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday, 10:38 here in St Moritz. We're back just after this. And you are back with us on Monocle on Sunday. Not in Zurich today. We are up in St Moritz. It's just gone 10:39 up here in the Alps. This is Makers and Shakers. This is day 3 of us broadcasting from up in this part of the Engadine. And I'm very happy to say that I'm joined by Filip Zuan, someone who has made something of a name for himself in terms of capturing sort of the epic nature of all that is around us up here. Good morning. Very nice to see you.
Buondì. Thanks for having me.
Maybe why don't we start off, because it was just interesting listening at the very start, this sort of reflection. Actually, we've now heard it twice, maybe because could be sort of seasons changing, but this focus on, and I think for our listeners around the world, people think St Moritz and they are thinking about snow and they're thinking about the glaciers beyond, and maybe more recently, yes, a bit of a focus on the summer season. But now I've already heard twice, now across the last 40 minutes, people talking about the autumn season. And maybe just, given from your side of the lens, what is the attraction? Maybe tell a little bit of a story for our listeners. What is the appeal of autumn up here?
Yeah, most definitely. It's we live in a special region where all year round is just amazing. So each season has its perks and is beautiful in its own terms. So yeah, to me, autumn is one of the most special ones, especially September now coming up. The light is amazing. When it gets really flat and you have the beautiful shadows and the moods in the morning. So yeah, I find beauty in all the seasons, I guess. Yeah.
So maybe let's rewind your start as a photographer, and also I want to maybe talk a little bit about also your audience and making a business out of it as well. Your journey to getting to the backside of the lens.
Yeah, definitely. I started off and I studied design, art direction in Barcelona. And I think just getting into that visual world, I was always confronted with the photography, with the picture, and that's where I fell in love with photography, and that's when it became a part of my journey, I guess. Yeah.
But as you said, starting off in an art direction world, and this is a really, it's a wide buffet as well. Of course, it allows you to say, okay, you could go for a world of still life, you could move to wanting to do fashion, you want to do reportage. What helped you at the start of your career focus on where you wanted to be and ending up here?
Yeah, for me, photography is always a feeling, so it's always a very natural evolution of what you document, and it's an extension of my persona. So in the beginning it was skateboarding, because that's just what I was involved and surrounded by, that subculture, and it just made sense and naturally what I was documenting, I guess. And then I'm a very curious person, and so later on I would go into other fields, and I love to just do all kinds of fields and then combine techniques and aesthetics from different fields and bring them over to the other ones, and that's, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to set you a bit of an impossible task, but that's the beauty of radio sometimes. Your approach, if I see your work, of course, suspended on a wall, if I saw it backlit on a screen, when it comes to documenting what is up here, what would you say is your unique approach? Because this is a space where, the scenery, so many want to capture it, whether it's on phone, whether it's on, the newest camera by Fujifilm. But from your perspective, what are you delivering?
Yeah, I think what really attracts me is the people and the stories behind them. I think that's just that's what makes the story. That's what you're looking at for a photographer. That's the stories you're always looking for. And there's so many amazing people, so many good stories up here, so many layers of different stories in sports, through art, through design, through culinary, just the whole spectrum. And that's the beauty of it, and that's what I love. And so I guess the people and their stories, yeah.
And have you gone through sort of phases where you think actually, I don't want the core subject. In the image, they might have built a world, let's say, around their terroir, which I want to capture, versus going into then, maybe much more of a portrait phase in what you've done, your evolution up here.
Yeah, it comes and goes in phases. It's definitely, I go in phases where I do a lot of sports, and then I go in phases where I might do more fashion, more landscapey stuff, more portraits. But that's the beauty of it all, because then I get fed up with it, and I come back and I have inputs and new energy for the other one. So it's kind of it comes in circles.
And tell me about your client base, because one has to make a living, and everyone, or not everyone, but of course many people have a dream about, of course, just being able to travel the world, travel the region, to of course document what appeals to them. Who's representing you, and of course who's purchasing your work?
Yeah, definitely. I work a lot with the tourism boards throughout the valley, Graubünden, and also Switzerland. So the whole spectrum. I do a lot of stuff with sports. I do a lot of stuff in sports with brands and with athletes. So that's kind of my main focus, and where that's the commercial work. And then I have personal projects, which are then making books or selling prints. So that's more or less the whole full spectrum. Yeah.
So my colleague Emma is back in London. If you're not a regular follower, of course, of our programs, you'll know that goats are a theme. We're always trying to sort of stay on top of what's happening with livestock around the world. I know, Emma, you're wondering, right? You probably need a good mountain goat or two on your wall in your living room, don't you?
I need a goat. I need more than that. I need a goat in my life. Yes, I do. And so let's just explain a little bit about how I would go about commissioning these wonderful pictures. Yeah.
So let's say Emma wants. Is it possible to approach Filip and say, look, I've got a special commission for you as a private customer. It doesn't have to be goats. But could it be if we set you an assignment?
Yeah, most definitely.
Please say it could be goats.
It could
tell
be.
us how. Talk us through the process about how you would choose the goat, and also, what's important to you when you're trying to sort of set up the mise en scène of your pictures and something like that, to bring them really to life, so that I could take them and put them on my wall in London and be somewhere instantly just by looking at it.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, as I said, photography is a feeling, so everything has to kind of click and feel right. And also the visual side of it has to be super appealing. So that's my main focus, to always make it real and just appealing and always forward thinking. So that will be my focus on this one. Yeah, but get in touch, Emma, for sure.
Emma, do you want a sort of a fresh, perky goat, teenage years, or you want someone sort of, crusty with a bit of history?
Oh, well, the latter is always more interesting, but we want something that's got a little bit of a twinkle in its eye, certainly, that knows it can still bound up a crag or two. Okay, that's your brief, Filip. Okay, you got it?
Perfect, done.
That's Filip Zuan, photographer based up in the region. Thanks very much for joining us. 10:46 here in St Moritz. My colleagues are going to be making their way back up here. And of course, this is a very special edition of Monocle on Sunday. We are at the Makers and Shakers Festival. We're going to go away for a very short break. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. And you are back just for the last segment of Makers and Shakers here in St Moritz with Monocle on Sunday, with me, Tyler Brûlé. I'm very happy to say that two colleagues have joined me back up on stage, both Sophie Grove, Nick Monisse as well. Sophie, when you think about, and listen, you go to lots of festivals, you go to lots of events, you go to lots of trade fairs, etc. What do you think are the opportunities? And of course, you know St Moritz quite well now. When you think about, maybe if you're listening to this sitting in Seattle, or you might be in Wellington, New Zealand, and people have this vision of the place, do you think sort of the pictures that might be in people's heads sort of match the contemporary reality?
Well, I think it's interesting that this is such a multifaceted place. And I think obviously in people's minds they have one St Moritz, and it has got this elegance and glamour and mountain life. But I think this festival, the program really reflects some of the history. You know, we have later an amazing Romansh singer coming, Chada Fo, which I'm really looking forward to. We're talking about, you know, a real community and also just facets of this place that people won't know. So I think it's broken it down for me, and you know, it's showing, you know, St Moritz in a different guise. In summer, you know, we're here, the air is fresh. You know, we came from a very humid Zurich, and it's just been such a wonderful escape.
Nick, you'd reflect that. I said this is only your second trip up here. You don't have sort of the history that Sophie has. You're working on it, though.
I'm building a new narrative here for myself, and I'm happy with it.
Right. So, again, let's just think, I mean, the time you spend in Milan, the time you spend in Copenhagen, going to so many trade fairs, etc., you've just been reflecting on the great architecture, just very, very simple design cues that you've seen up here as well. Again, when you sort of originally sort of thought about St Moritz before you came here, again, yeah, the image, the romance, does it sort of stack up to also what happens when you get up here? And I think just those sort of details that you sort of picked up on are probably things that just people think, actually, this doesn't really exist up here.
Well, I think there's also maybe an element of like, people might think those things don't matter, like those huts we were talking about, but it does completely, I guess, transform your relationship with a place, because it kind of gives you a moment to interact. But I think, you know, building on that alpine narrative, I guess in my head, you paint those cliche sort of images of the place, but the reality is it's this amazing balance between the new and the old, and there seems to be a real skill in St Moritz of finding, not preserving things for the sake of preserving things, but instead finding ways to enhance them. And maybe a nice example, I went for a walk with some of my colleagues, Carlo and Tom, last night. We passed the Kulm Ice Pavilion, which is this amazing balance between the old and new. It's a restored pavilion, but alongside a new addition from Norman Foster. I think it was from 2017, 2018. But it was this amazing way to, I guess, breathe new life into an existing building by giving it a renewed purpose. And I think that's something that's really struck me up here, especially with the Makers and Shakers. There are so many young people doing incredible work up here, and not afraid to push things forward. They're not resting on the history and on their laurels, and I think that's incredibly inspiring.
Well, I want to bring in Mariana Jakic, who is the CEO of St Moritz Tourism, and a very dear and friend of long standing of the Monocle family as well. Good morning, good to see you.
Good morning.
Now, listen, maybe, of course, we had you on radio on Friday, but many more people listen to this program. So I wanted to maybe just reflect for those who are joining us today, what's the point of Makers and Shakers? We've been talking about it, but maybe people are only waking up this morning wherever they are in the world. What was your vision for this, Mariana?
So the vision of Makers and Shakers is really showing or showcasing St Moritz as it really is. So there is a picture around the world, especially in winter, which many people have in mind who have not been in St Moritz. And we would like to pull up or push up all these people who make it happen. And for me, this is the real St Moritz. It's a combination of youngsters, old people, kids, entrepreneurs, creatives, architects, and so on. So this is the first kickoff of this idea during this weekend, and we want to enhance that and bring forward the faces who really stand for the real St Moritz and the real St Moritz experience.
And how important is it that this happens in summer? Because you could say, yeah, look at, and maybe, I don't know, maybe in your mind, maybe in one of your documents that and strategic plans, where you think maybe there's going to be 2 editions of this a year, there should be one in January as well. But how important is it for you that this is happening at the end of August or middle of August?
So we could also have started in winter, but for us, we see a huge potential in the summer and in the autumn. My personal favorite season is the summer and is the autumn. I think it's much more colorful and multifaceted than the winter is. And we will on the strategic plans, we have this summer extension of the summer season and going maybe away from this typical seasonality, winter and summer. We are going more into topics and themes which can be lived and experienced the entire year here in St Moritz.
And that's been an ongoing conversation since we met. But it's interesting, it has moved. I mean, I could even think when we first encountered each other many years ago now, that there was almost this fixed period that the hotels would close on September 3rd. They might wait for just American Labor Day to end, and that was it. Ciao, they were gone. But now we're into a period where, like towards the end of October, that it's almost like going right through to Christmas now.
Yeah, for us it was important to convince some of our partners really, and shops and restaurants to stay open during the lower season, which is quite difficult. So opening a Badruz Palace hotel for a day is very cost intense, and we have been able to convince some of the hoteliers. Not everyone will have this business model, and I understand it, but some of the hoteliers, like Surretta House is opening until end of October. We have the Grace Hotel, which is open the entire year. We have Kronenhof, which does not close during the lower season after summer. We have a lot of restaurants working better in the shoulder season than during the full season. And I think also from the, let's call it crowd perspective, over tourism perspective, I think it's important to be able to extend the experience and not have the peaks in July and August or in January and February. And I think for the entire experience of the guests, this will be beneficial. And we are really happy that this is going in this direction.
You're newish in this leadership role. I'm wondering how much, because of course you open up every newspaper everywhere in the world, and of course there's topics of over-tourism, etc. How much does that already confront you already when you're talking to the community, when residents are thinking, oh, I've seen another tour bus, I've seen another, okay, maybe private jets don't bring in too many people, but yeah, they see, let's say, the more mass side, that the trains arrive with ever more passengers. Is it a topic, or are you like, listen, we have to just enjoy the good times, because we know also they're not always going to be like that as well. So how much of it is a balance, but how much of that is an active dialogue up here? Because of course, if you're in the Mediterranean right now, it's a huge topic.
Yes, no, also on our side, so we are not easily accessible. It's not that people can come in millions and visit St Moritz, but we have for sure daily tourists, which we are trying to include in the experience as well. So we are launching a project soon where we would like really to know what they would like to experience here. So we don't want them to pass through the city and just don't experience it and see it how we see it. So we would like to register the guides to really give them also possibilities to visit us in the shoulder season, in the lower season. So really we are trying to steer the guest instead of saying, no, you cannot come to St Moritz during high season. I think it's also an ethical question which has a deeper psychological meaning, and I think we for me the steering is much more important. And we did some research, and people who book these day trips from Milan, for example, how they are experiencing this. We did really, some of my team colleagues did this too, actually.
They were the guinea pigs.
Exactly, to see what is really told about St Moritz. And I think the quality in this experience as well can be leveraged, and many people who come from Australia and are in Milan for a week, they come to St Moritz, do just a day trip, and maybe also this is an opportunity that we can convince them about our place and convince them to enjoy it in much more sustainable way.
Nick, those could have been your parents, right?
They really could have been my parents.
Those Australians in Milan.
Well, there's a Perth to Rome flight now. They nip up to Milan or onto St Moritz. It's perfect.
Mariana, just very quickly before we go, this is a bit of a selfish question on the part of all of us who all love to swim. I believe that there's some plans also to make the lake a bit more accessible for swimming. Yes?
Yes. So we are on a bigger project, and maybe for your retirement here, Tyler. So we are really rebuilding and reshaping the entire Ludines area, and this is meant to be an experience, enjoyable, swimming, sporty area for the young and for the retired. Maybe,
Sophie, news to your ears, right?
Very good news. I'm looking forward to it, indeed.
Mariana, thank you very much for looking after us these past few days. Mariana Kutsch, the CEO of St Moritz Tourism. Thank you very much. Also, Sophie, Nick, maybe we'll see you in the water. It's certainly wet outside already. Big thanks also today to Dr Diana Segantini, Luca Pollerhoff, also Vanessa Leuenberger, Filip Zuan, Emma Nelson back in London, Nick Monisse, also Sophie Grove, also Lily Austin looked after the sound, Paige Reynolds, and also Tom Webb and Carlotta Rebello looking after, of course, all of us on the production side, and Mariella Bevan back in London. And huge thanks also to Georgina Godwin, who, of course, has been one of my wing colleagues up here as well. That's all for this edition of Monocle on Sunday. We're back in Zurich next week. See you then. Goodbye.